Foolish men believe that they can figure out the nature and the size of the earth, the distance it is away from the sun. The sun, the moon, the stars, and their origin. Men have always attempted to explain these things, but it's only been several centuries or around 500 years since men have decided that the search for these things is no longer necessary, that we have truly decided and we have discovered the nature of this earth and that everything revolves around our sun. Interesting that the same people who named their space program to the moon Apollo, a sun god, helped to solidify our belief in a sun-centered reality where everything revolves around the solar. I maintain that this is indeed a form of scientism, or worship of science, believing in something that you cannot see for yourself, but yet you know it's there because you trust the source of the information. So scientists and astronauts, physicists, theorists, at the core, are the people that we trust as our new prophets, the new scribes that write the scriptures that are repeated in classrooms as absolute fact. Unfortunately, the sources that we trust quite oftentimes belong to societies, in most cases, that keep secrets from mankind, that hide technologies, and that hide certain truths about science and its discoveries, especially those truths that tend to have some spiritual repercussions. At the core, these secret societies who give us the authorities, who author the books that become the established reading material from which we get our facts, these folks belong to secret orders whose big secret is that they get their knowledge and information from extra-dimensional beings, from the top down, from the light bearer, light being knowledge in their analogy, Lucifer, as he was called in Rome. Now, these same scientists help to push the idea that God is at least in doubt and that the devil does not exist. They tell you that they've been to the core of the earth and they know about the magma, the tectonic plates and things of that nature, when in truth, the furthest they've been is about 8 miles down. These are the same people who lie about genealogy. They lie about etymology, the origin of words, the use of words. They have to lie about that in order to operate their verbal magic or their witch language and speak freely around us without us understanding, overstanding, or understanding what they mean. Well, they do the same thing in intellectualism. It's interesting that most concepts that can be intellectually explained with quote-unquote big words can also be explained with very few words. But it is an elitism and intellectualism that rules science and turns it into scientism, where it's no longer about questioning and trying to find out if facts are truly facts through experimentation, but it's all about blind belief in the source of your information. And they're masonically connected. They're connected by secret societies who are sworn to secrecy and who are sworn to use their knowledge to have power and control over mankind and the huddled, ignorant masses and sheeple that they consider us to be.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe I'd answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, you know, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
And apparently, we already have that technology. There are people that say that the California wildfires are started by or accelerated through the use of laser weaponry. There are many researchers who have talked about silent weapons for quiet wars and have for a long time accused the powers that should not be of keeping advanced technology to themselves, only to be used in the military occult industrial complex and as the occasional action figure and toy for young boy. It appears that they've been rolling out these silent weapons silently for years, and also that they're rolling out these weapons into not-so-silent weapons and testing them on ordinary citizens. I find it interesting that many of the space-age weapons that we are seeing so much visual evidence of these days were first, as it appears, ideas that were formulated by science fiction writers and then perpetuated through Hollywood productions and the toy companies that those Hollywood productions licensed their characters and movies to, and most explicitly through the use of science fiction. Could these be tests for a coming grand deception that will utilize this hidden technology in an effort to convince the public that we've been invaded by a force much more formidable than ISIS or Al-Qaeda?
That's crazy!
Here's another video of it, and this is on Williams Boulevard, about 2 to 3 blocks from my house. This is by the IHOP. Somebody captured it. This isn't normal. And if you look towards the end of the video, remember I told you about that amber beam that shot down over my house about an hour before all this occurred? Well, if you look toward the end of this video, you'll see what looks like a bright amber beam shooting down from the sky, which of course would come from a massive, over mile-wide UFO. And watch this. This is incredible right here. This isn't normal. I've never seen anything like this. Someone else captured a video of this. This is about 2 blocks from my house. You can see this electricity surging across these wires, and also you can see the lights flickering. This is just so crazy. Watch this. And this is what occurred last night here in Kenner. And this isn't typical. I mean, something to do with this large craft that's not from this world is what caused this. And this is amazing. Watch this.
That's crazy!
See those lights flashing off and on? It's going all the way down Williams Boulevard. Look at this. It was the brightest thing I've ever seen. And look at the lights, red lights flashing off and on. That was happening at my house. This is 2 blocks from my house right here, Williams Boulevard. This thing's surging all the way down the boulevard, these main wires. I saw this from my house, recorded this, but this is somebody that was close by at the Shell station there. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
We thought we were late to the party.
And there's just police everywhere this way. And I just asked the police what happened, and he claims that every transformer in the city of Kenner blew. If it does it again. Watch this. Look at this. I don't know what's going on, but look. This is being filmed through my backyard. And when it first happened, wow, that's incredible. It's continuing to flash. When it first happened, we could feel the energy from it. I mean, literally, it felt like a shock. Now, we assumed it was a transformer or something that blew, but not sure. I mean, it was the brightest I've ever seen anything light up the sky. There it goes again. You see it's continuing. There it goes again. Look at that. Wow, that's incredible. You hear that? What is that? Whatever it is, it's massive. Look at this. Hold on, I'm gonna go out front. Let's go out front. What on earth is that? Look at that. Wow, it's like it's getting closer. And earlier, look at that, that is incredible. Now earlier when it happened, we had a big orange glow in the backyard, like bright amber. We didn't know what it was, but this is continuing here. Look at this. Let me go outside. Let me go outside. That's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like that. Don't let her get out. Wow, what is that? Look at this. What on earth? What I witnessed last night was interesting, but also quite shocking and scary. And I'm going to tell you about that in just a second here. This is my Facebook page. Today is December 27th. A few days ago on December 20th, you can see I posted here about this UFO. It was a triangle UFO that I reported to MUFON, and that was on December 20th, a couple years before. I heard the same sound that I heard the other night on December 20th, 2018 here, a humming sound, just a powerful sound like something was approaching the house. And I heard the same sound a couple of years ago on the exact same date, and on that date I saw a large triangle UFO appear over the house. It was silent, it hovered, and it was massive. And I put that report, as you can see on MUFON, you can find that still. And now, just a few days later, on December 27th, that humming sound I heard a few days ago was obviously related to what we saw last night. And it was absolutely massive, incredible. What I believe to be a UFO over a mile wide, huge, came down with multicolored flashing lights all over the sky. It was in one part of the sky, it come around, and then it circled, and it just covered the whole area. This thing was massive. It was huge and very powerful. And as it approached, the wind picked up extremely high wind, and it was a feeling of intensity like I've never felt before. The energy and the power that I felt, I could literally feel the energy and the electricity of it in the air. I mean, the hair was standing up, and my son also witnessed it. It was absolutely incredible. It's hard to even describe. It was like witnessing something out of this most amazing movie of like an alien invasion or something. It was really incredible. And so you can read this article right here, but I want to show you this video. I also want to mention that the electricity has been out for over 7 hours. It just came back on. It's a little bit after 10 a.m. and it just came back on. It's been out for over 7 hours. And after this happened, I went around, I talked to Kenner Police and Jefferson Parish Police for probably about half an hour. And Kenner Police told me that every single transformer in the city of Kenner blew out. Every single one of them. Whatever this was, we know cases of where these large UFOs come down and they will, you know, some way they use this power. They take this power out of these things. I don't know if that's part of what it did or whether it zapped the power. I have no idea how that happened, but these substations were blowing up. I went and looked at one when I was talking to police last night, and the smoke was just pouring out of this giant substation, and the wires coming out of it were frayed, and some of them were just ripped and torn down to the ground. They were laying all over the ground. Telephone poles were on fire. It was the craziest thing. I've never seen something that could happen that would cause the substation to just destroy it, literally destroy substations and just blow, you know, these generators, I mean, these transformers just going out everywhere. I didn't hear any explosive sounds from them. Did hear the sizzling sound of electricity on some, but whatever it was that was above, which I believe to be a large, huge, large over a mile UFO, the lights were just radiating, glowing, and coming just in the air. You could see them up above the sky. It was kind of like partly cloudy, and some low, fast-moving clouds were moving across the sky, but you could see the lights, the way this thing was, in a circular motion. It was just spinning around the whole sky, covering the whole area. They were very bright. And oh, and I want to also mention too, prior to that, approximately 1 hour prior to that, we both noticed, well, 3 people in our house noticed a very dark amber, bright amberish, goldish amber light just appeared in the backyard, like it was beamed down from, I guess, probably a UFO. It only lasted for about 2 or 3 seconds, and that was about an hour prior to all this happening. But this was one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed in my life, and my son said the same thing. Never seen anything quite like this. It was just incredible. These massive orange, green, blue lights that came down, and you could see them coming down from the sky, and they were covering the whole area. And the wind was, it was almost like a hurricane. It was incredible. Now, I don't know why that was, but it was. And we witnessed this, and I caught some on video, which I have a video I'm gonna show. It was incredible. Even the lights, what was interesting too is even the lights, like the front light, I have a blue front light at the house, and it was flickering real fast when all this was occurring. And it was just an absolutely incredible intensity, the feeling of the energy, the electrical charge in the air. It got so intense at one point toward the end of a video that I shot that I ran inside. I was scared for my life. I didn't know whether I was going to be, you know, zapped up into this UFO or electrocuted or what. It got very scary.
Kenner, Louisiana. And the same thing happened in New York. New York and Louisiana both have heavy occult connections and heavy occult importance to the powers that should not be in these United Snakes of America. I thought about Kenner and Kenner Toys. Now, Kenner Toys made my and my cousin's favorite little voodoo dolls, action figures, Star Wars figures. But the Kenner Toy Company is now defunct, merged with Hasbro, makers of our other favorite toys, the Transformers, which blew, and G.I. Joe, which are coming through with the martial law. Kenner was founded by 3 brothers named Steiner, and they named the company after the street on which their original corporate offices were located in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is likely as Brotherhood members of the Jewish persuasion. They probably knew of Kabbalistic magic and the use of dolls as golems or vessels for spirits. They seem to have been recruited to craft toys that would indoctrinate a generation and their children, and even their grandchildren, to believe in outer space aliens and other deceptions that will be key to us being able to be fooled by their end times projections and projects. Matthew 24:24 is in effect. And yes, if it were possible, they would fool the very elect. They've been preparing us. They've been giving us predictive programming. They've also allowed us as children to enter into this fantasy realm of space that has been concocted by the powers that be, all for an in-game, end-time scenario that involves outer space and involves you believing in all of the things that scientism has taught you as truth that you've never been able to verify for yourself, and that also negates and goes against the existence of the Father and his word of Scripture, which describes things in full detail. And it does not describe them the way that the scientists who belong to the Brotherhoods, bought and paid for by the Brotherhoods, describe them. And their toys, the toys of the powers that be, the Brotherhood companies that made the most popular toys, were also a huge part of this as well. Interesting, all of the different creepy toys that Kenner was actually behind. And I think there's no coincidence that it was Kenner, Louisiana, where they ran this illusion, this fantasy.
1 week away from the opening day of the highly anticipated Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
But Not on Your Side's Kristen Swilley joins us now with how you can join the Rebel Alliance or the dark side starting this weekend, Kristen.
If you're a big Star Wars fan like I am, you can hardly wait until The Force Awakens opens next weekend. But the good news is you don't really have to wait that long to get your fix, because tomorrow there's going to be a Kenner Toys display of the original Star Wars action figures. Check it out, guys. We got the whole gang here. C-3PO, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, of course, Leia, R2-D2, and my personal favorite, Han Solo. Going to learn a lot more about these original action figures tomorrow. And that's happening from 10:30 to 5:30 here at the Cincinnati Library in celebration of Kenner's rich history itself and, of course, the upcoming release of The Force Awakens. Now, most of the day will focus on the history of Kenner toys, which includes the Baby Alive doll and the Easy Bake Oven. But if you are here specifically for Star Wars, you have to be here from 3:30 to 4:30 because a documentary called Plastic Galaxy, the story of Star Wars toys, examines the history and pop culture impact of Kenner's Star Wars toy line. And then stick around because in the next hour, there will be a panel discussion featuring the 3 original Star Wars toy designers. All events will take place in the library's main reading garden lounge. No registration is required and the event is free. Reporting live, Kristen Swilley, 9 on your side.
Kristen, thank you. You know, there's several events happening downtown tomorrow for Star Wars fans. Appointments in Carew Tower have grown-up version of Star Wars toys on sale. Now, the Museum Center's Lego exhibit will have a temporary craft station. Catherine, prepare yourself accordingly, and you can make your own mini Millennium Falcon out of Lego bricks and even meet R2-D2.
All right, that's not enough. Round out your night watching the Cyclones. The puck drops at 7:30 there. You can find your favorite Star Wars characters. The team will be wearing special jerseys that'll then be auctioned after the game. And don't forget the kids, they're going to get a Cyclones lightsaber all the way around. And it should be noted, I headed to the grocery store yesterday. Star Wars stuff is everywhere. In fact, I'm posting it right now. So many Star Wars things. I wonder, are we on the overkill bandwagon?
What was the most unique thing or odd thing you saw?
Fruit snacks, Star Wars fruit snacks,
yeah.
Star Wars soup.
Like the gummy
Yeah, so, you know, we'll see. I just wonder how little kids like it. I'm curious if the little kids really get it.
It works, though, in my family.
Yep,
my
sure
kids
does.
are like, oh, I want that one. And so it works, that marketing.
So the stage is been set for a bigger, more theatrical 9/11 level event. The royal jester, the James 1 and 8 man, perfect for this hermetic chaos, is Trump, the so-called Gemini. He represents New York, the set for the last big production, which cost thousands of lives and is still creating injuries. Now, how do you trump that? With some wild Jerry Springer-esque chaos, some science fiction with the highest levels of special effects ever developed, and the weapons that you've been waiting to pull out for just this moment for all these years. They've been testing them out, and ironically and hermetically, they destroyed paradise using fire. Similarly, in 9/11, we saw some strange things that were attributed to fire. I think that this is a precursor, some sort of predictive programming for laser strikes that will be a big part of the end times deception of a so-called alien invasion. Tell the truth. It took some of us many years to realize the significance of the 9/11 event, and if we tell the truth, some of us will even admit that when we were first told about the incident, and that there were inconsistencies in the official story, we were doubtful of whoever the source of the information was that was telling us 9/11 was a hoax. I predict that a similar thing will occur in the next 9/11 event is soon to come, because the climate has been set, the predictive programming has been let, and the people are upset. It's the perfect climate to bring order out of chaos, thanks in part to the so-called commander-in-chief and your boy, who will be the jester, the facilitator, and the ringmaster for this event. This is called a vector. However, let it remind you that the symbol of the pyramid symbolizes the way that power is controlled by a single governing body at the top. Many believe that this governing body is housed within the United Nations, which established Israel, which is actually a non-secular act. The United Nations has its own spiritual meditation room, and also much of the literature for the UN in its infancy was provided by the Lucis Trust, formerly called the Lucifer Trust. Many believe that through the United Nations, the Luciferian agenda can be spread worldwide, and wars, terrorist acts, and other global issues can all be decided and controlled from within this central governing body. Simply put, all of the nations of the world can band together under Lucifer through the use of the United Nations as a peacekeeping, unassuming disguise. And just like the other Kabbalists who use mudras and hand signs to show their allegiance not to biblical Israel, but to Babylon Israel, the Israel that gave them the Talmud and that gives them Kabbalistic understanding of how to control the spirits, evil spirits, to do their bidding. This is an understanding that they claim they gleaned from Solomon, who it is said used devils and demons, according to the Testament of Solomon, to assist in the building of Solomon's temple. So they believe that they are building Solomon's temple here. They are building another pyramid, another Rome, another Egypt, another empire here with the use of these spirits. And the entire world is using these spirits. The Brotherhood is worldwide, and they're all connected.
Looking at you sitting there, your mind a million miles away. I might as well be talking to the walls. Maybe they'll hear what I've got to say. It's the same old story about somebody with a dream, looking for the glory. No matter how far you just think you've got stars in your eyes. There's a whole world out there for you. You've got stars in your eyes. What are you gonna do? You've got stars in your eyes. There's a whole world out there. So much inside, you can't hold it all in. You got to express your feelings. Maybe one day the whole world will know. Put a sail on your dreams and go sail. It's the same old story about somebody with a dream, looking for the glory. Just singing, you got stars in your eyes. There's a whole world out there for you. You got stars in your eyes. Lord, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You got stars in your eyes. There's a whole world out there for you. Oh, Open up your heart and live. You got stars in your eyes, the whole world out there for you. You got stars in your eyes, what you gonna do? You got You are my life. I have to go. Have me any way you want to. Just take care and love me till my tension's gone. 'Cause you are my starship. Take me up tonight and don't be late. Yes, you are my starship. Come take me up tonight and don't be late. And don't you come too soon. Baby, yeah.
Aside from any official explanations about the vector, you can say that NASA's symbol looks like a forked tongue, though we know it's said to symbolize aeronautics. It actually represents V, or Venus, victory over the world. Remember, the Venus disguise is only another Queen Mother Goddess mask which allows Satan to use the passive-aggressive, beta, or feminine methods of deception, including false love and concern for victims, as is exemplified by the disingenuous display of sensitivity in today's hyper-politically correct environment, urged on by the controlled opposition Me Too movement and the Hollywood staged purging of its so-called casting couch politics. Venus equals the Queen Mother Goddess. Venus equals the bright morning star. Venereal comes from Venus, so does venerate, vain, V-A-I-N, and vain, V-E-I-N. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, sporting a top hat with coat and scarf as he holds up the V'd fingers. He helped to make V for victory famous. Here's an article from Time magazine backing up that claim. V for victory, celebrating a gesture of solidarity and defiance.
Tonight is your chance to see how it all began, to relive the excitement that is V, the most extraordinary miniseries ever. A daring TV journalist struggling to uncover the startling truth behind the aliens' visit to Earth. And a beautiful and brave young scientist fighting for the very survival of the human race. Together, they take you on a fantastic journey to meet the visitors. Prepare yourself for a television event that's out of this world. Prepare for V. Next.
V. It was 1983 when TV audiences first saw this miniseries about an alien invasion of the planet Earth. Almost 30 years later, V is regarded as both a landmark piece of science fiction and good old-fashioned entertaining television. I should point out that I am a huge fan of V, and I try and watch the entire series at least once a year. Now, even though V premiered 3 decades ago, it's still popular among science fiction fans. So why does V still endure after all these years? What is it about the story that continues to capture the imagination of so many viewers? In order to answer these questions, we have to go back and take another look at the miniseries V. Now, the plot of V is relatively straightforward and simple. An alien fleet arrives on Earth and claims to come in peace, but in reality they wish to harvest humanity for food. Now, this plot is very similar to an episode of the classic sci-fi TV series, The Twilight Zone, and the episode is called To Serve Man. In the episode, an alien arrives on Earth to much fanfare and claims that all he wants to do is help humanity. He wants to cure humanity of all its diseases and share his vast alien knowledge with the entire planet. He's even carrying around this book called To Serve Man. It's only later when the alien has gained the trust of humans that it is revealed the book To Serve Man is actually a cookbook. Sounds silly, right? But the first part of V follows the same story structure. The structure is people are giving up their freedom or voluntarily surrendering to some benevolent power who promises to take care of everything. If you go outside the realm of science fiction, the story of a fascist regime taking over America seems inspired by the Sinclair Lewis novel called It Can't Happen Here. Now, in this story, America is taken over by a charismatic politician who slowly turns into a dictator, and ordinary people have to fight back with armed resistance. Now, in the original drafts of V, the draft was called Storm Warnings, and it was a fascist government that took over the country. It was similar to It Can't Happen Here. A fascist government has taken over control of the country. The bosses at NBC did not like this idea and sought to exploit the popularity of Star Wars, so they later replaced the idea of fascist humans with conquering, invading aliens, and the series known as V was born. Now, when V made its premiere in 1983, it was the golden age of the TV miniseries. Miniseries like Roots and The Thornbirds were watched by tens of millions of people, because at this time there were only so few networks on TV. There was NBC, ABC, and CBS. So when a miniseries premiered, not only you watched it, but you could be sure that most other people in the country were watching it as well. But V captured a large audience through its very shrewd marketing campaign, which was designed by creator Kenneth Johnson. Now, Johnson had his NBC staff hang up visitor propaganda, actual visitor propaganda, all over New York and LA. So people would walk through the city and see these posters saying, "Friendship is universal." And these were the exact same posters that we would later see in the actual V miniseries. But a few weeks before the series premiered, Johnson had the staff go through the city and spray paint those same posters with the letter V. Now, no one had ever promoted a miniseries this way, so it really heightened audiences' curiosity about the show. It must have worked because when V premiered, over its 2 nights, it captured an estimated 50 million viewers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving toward the Earth with enormous velocity.
In 1938, Orson Welles did a now infamous radio broadcast of the science fiction story War of the Worlds. Now, legend has it that the radio drama was so effective in its imitation of an actual news bulletin that the radio broadcast caused widespread panic all across the country, as people mistakenly thought they were being invaded by Martians. The famous broadcast not only demonstrated Wells's power as a storyteller, but also demonstrated the profound power of the medium of radio. How people got their information was just as important, if not more important, than the information itself. 40 years later, in V, we see the power of a different media. In this case, the medium of television. Television and the power of television plays a significant role in the V series. Let's think about this. The opening scenes from the series, we see a TV broadcast from a battle in El Salvador. It is here where we first meet the show's main character, a TV cameraman named Mike Donovan. Now, when the visitors finally arrive, V's ensemble cast all watch the event via television. In fact, the first 30 minutes of the series are all shots of people entranced by what they're watching on their TV sets. This is effective because it allows the show's creators to introduce and organize all these different characters we're going to be meeting. But we also see the importance of TV as a medium for spreading information and forming public opinions. When Mike Donovan sneaks aboard the mothership and discovers that the visitors are actually man-eating lizards, the aliens respond by seizing control of the media itself. So when the visitors seize power, this is the power that they're seizing. The power of the media. The aliens don't just invade our planet, they invade how we communicate as well. For me, V was never about action or violence. It was a show about power. Who has power and who doesn't. Now, in the story, as the visitors take control, the power relations between the characters begin to shift. In one of my favorite scenes, we see two parents who have become terrified of their son because he's been recruited by the visitors. The story of a ragtag group of human rebels fighting off an alien invasion proved so popular that V was made into a weekly series in 1984, but it was canceled after only one season. V remained popular for several years and even was rebooted in 2010 as a series on ABC, but I feel the original miniseries will stand the test of time.
So the two pillars went down on 9/11, making way for the symbol of the new order, the transgender child, the Gemini, hermaphrodite, the Baphomet, the space age, this being that has neither identity with gender or nationality as we know it. Its time has come. You notice all the 666s in geoscience. You notice NASA's heliocentric sun worship and the sun worship of the brotherhoods. It all gives place to New Age deception involving spirit guides from other planets who have already made themselves known as so-called ascended masters. And while we are distracted by the dog and pony show of politics and told to pay attention to China, we didn't know that we have a true global conspiracy on our hands, and even China's a part. China's Jade Rabbit recon probe lands on the dark side of the moon. Yeah, right. In preparation for this scene, disclosure pawns remind us that U.S. astronauts said they'd heard music and singing of the dark side as they orbited. So all of the parts and the levels of the Brotherhood are being brought together for this grand last scene the last scene in a play, the last scene in a movie. It's epic. Take either Avengers movie. There's a lot of chaos. Everything is set into chaos so that things can be brought to order by the end of the movie. But this ain't no movie, brothers and sisters. But we're seeing things unravel now because of the generation at hand, Generation Y, who are bold enough to question things that most of us took for granted. And what's dope about the so-called flat earth craze, if you will, excuse my phrase, is that it proves that there are things about God that man cannot know, thus keeping man in his place and God in his. And there are things about God's creation that man will never discover with his science. It is a wicked and adulterous generation indeed. We seek signs from science in order to know things that God have already described for us, things that God has already described for us in detail. They require our faith in his word. Let God be true and every man be a liar. If you are on the fence about God or the nature of the shape of the earth, you will not be when they drop the mothership down on you. And you better know that it's going to happen soon and very soon. And the closer we get to folks unraveling the big science lie, the faster they have to drop down the mothership in the Project Bluebeam type of deception that's been described as being the end time game, or the last card played in this end game. So laugh now. Think of all the people who go ogle at Google every day. Googlers, especially students, are stumbling upon so-called flat earth info as they look up science info for class. Childhood's End tells us the children need to believe in the scientific space model in order to be a key part of the end times blue beam level deception. There's so much going on. There's so much to question. So many hidden meanings in the news that we hear every day. Wars, rumors of wars, and non-existent threats to cloak real ones. We have had both the First and Second World Wars. Is it possible that the third will not be conventional war, but the end of all warfare? Z is the end of our alphabet. Is there more hidden symbolism relating to the end times and the last act of this hermetic theater in the 2013 movie World War Z?
If I could get into India, where would I start? Who would I speak with?
India is a black hole. Forget about patient zero.
I can't do that. It's too late for me to build a wall. I'm running out of time. I need specifics. I need answers.
I don't have answers. All you can do is find a way to hide.
It's too loud. It's too loud. Coming over the top!
You laugh because it's his job to diffuse you through laughter. You're confused about how to feel about him because it's his job to play a polarizing character who has aspects of both hero and villain. He is the anti-hero, exemplified in the Dark Knight. And a dark night is coming, a storm is coming, as he said himself.
Because cognitive dissonance works its cancerous craft on people of every political spectrum, I want to be clear about something before I say what I'm about to say. These two should be in jail. There are many things we could say that would rightly condemn these psychopaths for the criminals they are, but just the Uranium One deal and their massive observable theft of the Haitian people by the Clinton Foundation is enough to put them away by any credible justice system for life. And their treasonous acts, according to our founding documents, would exact a much more severe penalty, if you know what I mean. This guy's also a criminal and a warmonger, as is this guy and so many others that came before him. Matter of fact, Washington is a district that's crawling with criminals in suits who claim to be fighting for your freedoms when nothing could be further from the truth. They're there as puppets, whether senators or congressmen or presidents, to enrich Zionist bankers, enslave Americans, and serve their Israeli puppet masters. Now, I wasn't planning on dealing with this topic, but as I was reviewing material and scouring the internet, I happened to come across this video, which was released yesterday on January 3rd by the channel Golden State Times. It's entitled, "Oh my God, President Trump just unleashed his secret weapon and Democrats are terrified." In less than 24 hours, it has over 380,000 views and an excellent like to dislike ratio, so it's well received. In the video, Trump apparently makes a surprise visit to the briefing room where he first congratulates liberty-snatching, anti-gunner, and full-time psychotic nitwit Nazi Pelosi, who just became Speaker of the House. After this, he gives a glowing review and introduces members of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and Border Patrol. Remember, ICE is a part of the security theater known as the Department of Homeland Security, which is responsible for the mega expensive, highly ineffective, disastrous Fourth Amendment stripping blue shirts of the TSA. Remember, both ICE and TSA were created after the 9/11 attacks in order to keep us safe from those evil terrorists. The only problem is that most Americans don't see that the largest terror cell on American soil, which creates more terrorism for the American people than any homegrown foreign terrorist ever could, is their own government. So if you're conservative, you're supposed to look at ICE and Border Patrol as heroes who protect our country and our freedoms. On the other hand, if you're one of those people who want to abolish ICE and every other authoritarian, freedom-stripping, constitution-trampling agency, you conservatives are supposed to look at such people as liberal lunatics who don't have the best interest of America at heart. So the script has been written by your overlords, and you follow that script or risk being shunned as an anti-American commie. And that is exactly how the Zionist banking masters feed that cognitive dissonance worm growing inside the brains of everyone who, left or right, it doesn't matter, is a government-loving statist. And that's why cognitive dissonance red flags filled my mind when I saw what I'm about to show you. As irony would have it, while the video was playing, I was reading the comments under the video. Comments like, "Jail the Dem rat traitors." There was lots of praise for Trump, and then I read these two comments. "Pelosi is a traitor to this country," and "Nancy Pelosi is a demonic witch obsessed with destroying this country from the inside out." Now you guys know what I think about Nazi Pelosi. I agree that she's violated her oath more times than I can recall, and I agree that, as her actions show, she's obsessed with destroying the life, liberty, and property of all Americans. Bottom line is, she's an oath breaker and therefore a traitor. And the demonic witch part is something that I don't doubt at all. But as I made my way back up to the video from the comments section, this guy was introduced. His name is Art DeGueto. He's the vice president with the National Border Patrol Council. The ironic thing about hailing Trump, ICE, and Border Patrol, while calling Nazi Pelosi a demonic witch, which has a thing or two to do with Satanism, Art here, Mr. Vice President for the National Border Patrol Council, is wearing a satanic Freemason pin. Now, if you're caught in the left versus right cognitive dissonance paradigm, you brush the display of that satanic, secretive, anti-American organization pin off as a nothing burger. Why? Because the guy wearing it is pro-Trump and pro-wall and anti-liberal policies, at least as far as you know. Now, I have no doubt that if it was Hillary Clinton up there introducing these agents, and that very guy wore that very pin, website after website would have photo after photo of art, and his satanic pin circled and highlighted. And paragraph after paragraph would be shouting from the rooftops about this sinister organization, their sinister schemes and rituals, and the unbridled evil it represents. But we don't see that. Why? Because cognitive dissonance is real. And it works on liberals just like it works on conservatives. Because no matter which way you slice it, both sides want the control and power to rule other people who don't want to be ruled. Controlling, committing violence on, and stealing from people is what left branches of government do, and it's what right branches of government do. The very people who condemn such satanic symbols are those who rightly promote speeches like this.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
But we don't see condemnation for this ICE video from the right. It's almost like they can't speak of what they know to be evil because they've somehow fastened themselves to the Trump train. It's almost like the shocking thing Trump said about his supporters is true.
The people, my people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
And I'm looking at this going, God, I hope this isn't true. But then I have to face reality because that really looks like what's going on. For those of you who don't know about the depth of evil Freemasonry represents, there are plenty of channels out there who specialize in exposing their disgusting, perverted, satanic rituals and the massive influence and control they have over government officials, Hollywood celebrities, sports stars, the music industry, and corporate executives. Now guys, the reason I made this video is because I'm tired of seeing people fall into the trap of the elite. Those globalists who use the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, and the left versus right paradigm that keeps us deceived, distracted, and divided.
Number 8, we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens, never happens. Hillary Clinton, all talk. Unfortunately, when there is action, it's always the wrong decision. Do you ever notice? In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
Believers of the Father in heaven say that thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The Brotherhood, believers of Lucifer, believe that as above, so below. There's as much pyramid above ground as there is below ground. However, it also means that good and evil can be twisted and can be used in accordance with whatever the end goal is. Good and evil are relative, they believe. And they believe that you can use as much evil to accomplish good as you can use good to accomplish evil. This is their twisted ideal of doing charitable acts while men wear skirts, or devilish brotherhood, men with mob ties doing charitable acts, or of presidents appearing to do charitable things for impoverished neighborhoods. it's a big part of the brotherhood to do charity. It is a great disguise and a great barrier to hide behind. But when you see the signs and symbols being used time and time again by brotherhood men, being used by the commander-in-chief, it only leads you, I think, to further believe what it is that you already knew. And that is that presidents are always a part of the brotherhood agenda. They represent the highest, most powerful man in the land. And therefore, just the perception of power means that they have to be controlled by those who really have power and would not like or want for this individual to take and use their platform to do something that goes against the grand agenda. So time and time again, you will see Trump using the mudras, giving the Masonic grip. You saw him stand there with a bunch of Masons who will be instrumental in his building of a wall or in his border security agenda. Again, this is a non-issue. There is absolutely no threat being posed by Mexican folks who want to come over here and take jobs that many Americans thumb their noses at. Migrant workers are not the issue. Mexican gang cartels is not the issue. There's a broader issue. It's a lockdown issue. And it brings to mind a song by Goody Mob, Who's That Peeping in My Window? In that song, CeeLo says that he wonders if the gated community or if the fence, the wall, I wonder if the wall is meant to keep crime out or keep our behinds in. One big problem with the ASTORIA substation power plant explosion story is that the media kept making references on the news that night, especially in New York, to the aliens coming. And secondly, people were waiting for the news to tell them what was going on. And thirdly, and probably most importantly, people assume that an alien attack is going to come from the sky, which gives Project Bluebeam and its operators opportunity, chance, and time to strike, knowing that people believe that a strike from aliens coming out of the sky is plausible, and some believe it's inevitable. Additionally, wouldn't places like power plants, like nuclear plants, be attractive to extra-dimensional entities who need certain energies to be able to transform from the ethereal realm into this physical and material realm? And perhaps what it looks like when a fallen angel touches down is similar to what it looks like when a power plant explodes. We don't know. All we know for sure is that they've been prepping us for this for some time. And by the way, Marina Abramovich will electrify herself with 1,000,000 volts. Yeah, right. But this relates to Electra and the link between lightning, electricity, Ben Franklin, secret societies, and the spirits and devils that they wish to loose. There are folks who say, I don't believe in religion or God. I believe in science. And then there are those who profess to believe in a God who don't realize that the 13 years that we all spent learning about science actually formed a belief in something that you cannot prove or see besides in your God. That belief is going to be tested. Your belief in God versus your belief in what you're told about the known universe, the stars in outer space. It's going to be tested this year. That's the reason things are unraveling through the use of a conspiracy theory people have dubbed flat earth. The things that are unraveling are the things that science needs for you to continue to believe in order for the end times deception to work on you. So before too many people catch on, like what happened with 9/11, they have to do something to solidify the lie.
So much in we, and no, we're not kidding. If you feel the same as me, you gotta wanna take the ball. It comes a time in our lives you wanna be bigger. You gotta keep on pushing. You gotta learn to take control, yeah. Now I found out that nothing is given. Don't know where the cards may fall.
Everyone here has at least a working knowledge about some of the most basic concepts of science. Many of us enjoyed science, but few of us tested it. We went about our lives as if the things that we were taught as fact through science were proven and established by experiments done by men much smarter than we were. So we trusted those men. Now, in an age known as the information age, and among the generation in power known as Generation Y, there are more questions that can be asked and more answers that can be found. The internet has, like many tools, proven to be a double-edged sword in this information age, but one thing that it has surely done is allowed for people with little known points of view to be able to be heard, not just by others who share the same points of view, but by those who have never considered their point of view. Also, masters of illusion and mind control, they work together. Disney, Hollywood directors like Kubrick, and the government, George Lucas, obviously lent the coveted name Star Wars to the SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative system proposed by Ronald Reagan. We find that they play games with our minds in a revelation of the method that feels more like taunting than anything. We also know that it is part of the devil's due that he reveal himself so that we can openly choose and willfully choose to serve him, even if only subconsciously. So they play subconscious tricks and games with your mind, such as imprinting images of the dog, the cartoon dog Pluto from Mickey Mouse, onto the planet Pluto. Read the story about the naming of the dog Pluto and the naming of the planet Pluto. You tell me which one came first after you read the story. That's a little bit of homework for some of you. For others of us, it's hard to come to grips with new information when it shakes and shatters your worldview. And that's not what's intended. What's intended is for you to have a stronger worldview based upon the plumb line, which is the Word of God. What's intended is that you truly go by the scripture, that let God be true and every man be a liar. What's intended is that you be watchful as you pray, and you watch this world around you. You watch the things that are presented to you as fact, and you will then begin to question what is fact. More importantly, you should question who are the scholars, who are the scientists, who are the men of renown who establish the facts that the establishment and the authorities author books upon and that they teach us from. And why do they all have these strange and odd connections to the brotherhood? Why is there this evidence of faking of deaths, or doppelgangers or clones or something going on with the Challenger mission crew that exploded in front of me and you? I remember that morning. Side note, interesting side note, as we looked at our Hermetic Theater breakdowns of Punky Brewster, I mentioned that there was a Punky Brewster episode with a special guest. I believe it was Neil Armstrong, who came on and had to console Punky because her and other members of her other members of her class and other classmates were very upset at having seen the explosion. Punky was especially upset because she said it was her dream to be an astronaut. Another note, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Neil deGrasse, said that the shape of the planet Earth is not a ball. It's an oblong, funny shape. And it's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. That's certainly not a ball. So where do these images from NASA and SpaceX really come from, y'all? When you watch the SpaceX footage, you could see the blue ball Earth in the background glitch, as if the Tesla was put in front of a blue screen projection of the Earth. If you look at from 1975 to 2012 or so, or later, you can find about 8 different pictures and depictions of what the Earth looks like that differ in significant ways. The sizes of the continents. You can also find NASA cutting and pasting the clouds and implanting the word sex in a Disney-esque mind control manner. As we know that we caught Disney imprinting the word sex many times in its cartoons. We can find NASA using some of the same mind control techniques. Why? Because these are all the same Luciferian Brotherhood members. Sometimes they meet and exchange ideas at the meet and greets and the rituals where they eat baby back, and where they exchange ideas on how to deceive us. So much is being discovered nowadays. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, okay, so where's the edge? Not of the flat earth, because we know that in the biblical model, there's no edge to fall off per se. But where's the edge of this? The end of this? How far will people begin to question? People are questioning the moon landing. They're questioning the Antarctica Treaty, the satellite existence, the existence of satellites, the existence of space, the globe, aliens. Everything's being questioned now. All of these things that are being questioned are essential to the powers that be being able to pull off a grand deception. It's essential to them that we don't question these things in order for their grand deception to go off without a hitch. Of course, there will be folks who won't believe their deceptions. Certainly, there's always that. But they need for the majority of citizens worldwide. That's why you have such a worldwide move now to get back in the space race by other countries. They need for citizens worldwide to believe in gravity, to believe in a lone spinning ball, balling out of control, spinning around the sun at 666,000 miles per hour. They need for you to believe this, to believe that an alien craft can come down on you at any given time and say, take me to your leader. And we're going to take them straight to Donald Trump. Doodle dump Trump. Of course, he's, I'm sure, already briefed on his role in this end times deception. Anonymous has a big role in this end times deception. Q has a big role. These are the people, and the government shutdown, I believe, may be a kickoff. But one thing we know for sure is that all of the players are in place to give us this big scare from outer space. Leaked documents have come out. Anonymous can say that, you know, them or some other hacking group, which is, you know, which really are just operatives from within the government, controlled opposition. And they can come out and they can say, oh, we've discovered that NASA's been lying about aliens. See all the other lies that you guys have been discovering? We found out a real lie. You guys think that you found out things about the flat earth. Oh, no, it's not true. The real big deception is that, yes, Roswell really did happen. And yes, they really did have an alien autopsy. And yes, we've been working with aliens in the lower levels of Area 51 and its counterpart in underground military bases and facilities. So this is the stage. The closer that they get to disclosure, the more you see channels like Secure Team securing interviews with fixtures in the UFO movement, the more you will see this move toward it's a double cross that NASA makes it look like they're hiding aliens. They're not hiding aliens at all. They want it to be discovered that it looks like they're hiding aliens in a classic Masonic double cross, so that they can uncover what they really have been set up to uncover since their inception, and that is the existence of these devils. And they will be able to walk among us if they are portrayed as aliens who are here to bring peace on earth and stop mankind's divisive and warlike ways. It's interesting that we're not only being introduced to the Greys, we've been conditioned to accept the appearance of the Gray. They even had a movie called Paul where they made the Gray alien just like a bro, right? You know, just like your buddy. Of course, E.T. did that for another generation at another time. But you also have the ASHTAR command, or the tall white aliens, the Nordic style aliens, they're called. The same ones that George Adamski reportedly saw, the same ones that Hitler saw. These are supposedly the ones that Hitler modeled his idea of the Uberman, or the Superman, the supreme man or the superior race from. He was not tall. He was not blonde. He was not blue-eyed. Then, of course, we have Von Braun, who, along with Jack Parsons, helped to make NASA what it is today. They turned the Jet Propulsion Laboratory into a scientific office for the exploration of rocket creation, into an office for the exploration of space. And they did so using propaganda, the same propaganda that I'm sure Werner von Braun was familiar with during his time in Nazi Germany as one of the head Nazi scientists under the Hitler regime. NASA is certainly created by folks who have occult ties. Nazis had occult ties. Many people don't realize their connection to the Thule Society, to the writings and teachings of the Theosophical Society, the witch Madame Blavatsky, who also claimed to have met with these ascended masters, these beings that folks are into nowadays. Folks who ascribe to the New Age, they are familiar with the ascended masters, Sananda and the rest of them. Also in times past called the ASHTAR command. And again, this is interesting when you have a president who many people think of as alt-right leaning, and this is a new perception of him. As a Brotherhood member for a long time, you saw him hobnob with big shots of every nationality. A lot of black folks. You have a lot of photos of Donald Trump with black stars from the 80s and 90s. He was in a lot of people's rhymes. There's appeared to be no prejudice in him. He just seemed like a rich guy who liked to come live with other rich folks. This is why it didn't seem odd for him to be in Bobby Brown's video. But it's all about universalism. And in order to bring this universalism, in order to bring this order, this one world order, you have to have one world in chaos. How do you make the entire world in chaos aside from your classic world war? Albert Pike, Supreme General of the Council of the 33rd Degree, the only Confederate general who has a statue in Washington, D.C. In other words, he fought against the North. He fought for slavery, and he's honored with a statue in the Capitol. Albert Pike is known for writing Morals and Dogma, a Masonic handbook which contains the admission that they see Lucifer as God. He's also said to have written letters to Mazzini, Giuseppe Mazzini, who is the man who literally put the M in Mafia, which is supposed to be an anagram. Each letter in Mafia is supposed to stand for a different family name. And Mazzini supposedly was written by Pike, and in that famous letter is where he spelled out the 3 world wars and how they would go. Now remember, this is a man who was a veteran of the Civil War, so we hadn't had the First World War yet. But he realized the order out of chaos had to be facilitated, at least the first 2 wars, through conventional warfare means. I do believe that his plans have been updated in his absence, since he's been spending his time in burning flames. I do believe that the powers that be, his Brotherhood members, have updated his plans, and they have put an extraterrestrial quote-unquote spin on it all. These are beings who come from hell. These are beings who are able to have technology. They have technology because we are taught in the apocryphal book of Enoch and in Ezekiel that angels or angelic beings or spirit beings are where we get mechanical things, tools, the ideas for a chariot from. These things are first found in the spirit realm. Then they are made manifest here in the physical realm. So you have these devils who will clean up nicely as they can appear as ministers of light. And they will come promising mankind ascension, promising the same thing that the serpent promised Adam and Eve in the garden. And there are folks who are already fully given over to this belief, whether they know it or not. Some of them fully aware of it, and there are a lot of folks who find their own versions of it. There are black versions of it, or there are versions for the black community, where instead of turning toward the ascended masters, who certainly have a strong Aryan look to them, you have these quote-unquote African style devils or depictions of angels or angelic beings or extraterrestrials. You find those primarily in the works of Dr. York, who was leader in that move, in that campaign to help to indoctrinate the ghettos of North America with the same thing that they wanted all of America indoctrinated with. And they saw that they had to take a little bit of a different approach. In comes Parliament Funkadelic, later on Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, and later after that X-Clan, to help to take us into outer space and into a belief that our ancestors come from outer space. That's what these ascended masters are going to use. They're going to say that they not only help to seed the first civilizations, that they're ancient, but that they help to create mankind. This will shake the faith of any who are weak in their faith, or who have seeds of unbelief that have been planted in their minds, in their hearts, and in their souls by scientism and those who are the ministers of it. And this is just the reality. And some folks are able to see clearly and can see all the way to the end of this theater. They can see the last scene playing out, and then other folks find it very blurry and hard to tell what's going on. Regardless of on which side you fall on, in the information age, in this time that knowledge has increased on the earth, many things will change because of it. They have us chasing a white rabbit, much like Alice in Wonderland. Hence the name Jade Rabbit for the Chinese explorer that went to the dark side of the moon. They want to keep us in this fantasy state so that they can run a huge fantasy, a huge deception and delusion on masses of people without question. So they've been testing out how much can they lie without question. How much can they propose to know without question? How much faith will the masses give the scientists? We've given them enough faith for them to believe that they can deceive us using a plot that we've seen on TV many times before. They did it with 9/11. They pre-programmed us with 9/11. They revealed the method so many times in so many different ways over so many different years. We should have seen it coming, but we didn't, because they used national pride to give us a blind side. They used fear to trigger us into irrational thought and behavior to take us out of our sound mind. And just like a 70s pimp, they test out their control by seeing how far they can go with what they tell us to do or believe before we begin to question them and say, hey, wait a minute, that sounds crazy. So be careful what you think sounds crazy until you look into it, because this truly is a hermetic world where up is down, left is right, wrong is right. They've made evil fair seeming. They've made us idolize the sun and the moon. Some worship the earth. And they have less and less people focusing on the creator of all of the above. He's not out to bust the Hollywood and Illuminati pedo rings. Only the enemies of his frenemies at the moment. He will keep those who are his close companions and their secrets safe, because he wants his secrets safe. He does the same things that the rest of the Brotherhood members do. He's not out to bust Crooked Hillary. He's not worried about China. He's laying low, playing his role, doing the things that they want him to do, saying the things that they want him to say, playing the role that they want him to play. Wake up. Stay up and look up.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space. And I said, you know, teachers don't stop until June. He said, no, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject.
The skies of New York, you got to check this out. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. A transformer explosion at a power plant in Queens gave New Yorkers an unexpected light show last night. The explosion lit up the sky, it shook buildings, rattled windows, sent people running into the streets. The blast causing part of LaGuardia Airport, one of the nation's busiest airports, to lose power. Terrified travelers scrambling to safety as the eerie sky glowed just outside the window.
Thought it was fireworks going off, and I looked to my right and I saw just the yellow sparks in the sky. It looked like blue fire.
You look in the sky and it was bright blue. It was insane. It was a really weird blue color too. I was like, aliens are here.
Well, even though some thought it was the beginning of Armageddon, no one was hurt.
Good thing.